Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us this kind of rainy but still beautiful Florida Monday.
Summer. Officially summer.
It is.
Typical Florida summer.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Come out of the rain, sit down, join us for our podcast, the Rabell Realty Group podcast. We've got a great guest speaker today. We'll introduce it in a few. And if you don't remember, I'm Kristen Rabell.
I'm Rebecca Johnson.
Yep, and who we are. We're going to start off, as we always do, with the Monday Market Moment.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the state of Florida that Rabell Realty Group serves, and we'll start with Alachua County. So far in the month of June, there are 164 active residential single-family or attached-style homes on the market in the varying price ranges. Again, this excludes rentals, different types of commercial property, and all those
land,
sorts of
right?
Yep. Pending so far for the month of June, there are 294 pending and 296
I
closed.
always find it interesting when those two numbers are back, neck and neck.
They are.
Pending, keeping up with the closed.
They are. We're going to mix it up. I'm going to jump down to Tampa today instead of over to St. Augustine.
Check out those numbers.
I know they've been busy. So they have 785 active listings that have come on since June 1st. Right, we're still in June.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
First day of summer.
For some reason, I thought it was July. All of a sudden, I was confused. With 1,793 pending and 1,560 sold. So lots of people buying and selling and getting homes down there in the Tampa Bay area.
Still low inventory, but whatever's coming on the market's jumping off, pending immediately, and still closing. So.
And the Ocala market's looking really strong. That's a little nerve-wracking to see they have more pending than closed still, but they only have 221 active listings that have come on as of June 1st through today in that residential factor. And with 529 closed and pending and 435 closed. So things are moving in Ocala. They're growing and expanding, and I know they've taken a lot of steps to do so over the last couple of years. And then over to the lovely St. Augustine. In the St. Augustine,
64, 65 active, always around that number.
It's always right around there with 21 pending and 23 closed so far. And that market, I know, is moving. And I do suspect a lot of things sell and close that we just don't see until they hit the property appraisers.
Right. This is all the MLS for each area. So we track those numbers, look at those numbers with active, pending, and closed. And again, St. Augustine is a tiny little portion of St. Augustine. It's not all of the beaches.
Right. It's not doing Butler Beach and Crescent and all theirs. Exactly. It's doing
so
St.
really
Augustine.
In St. Augustine Beach. So that's why those numbers are vastly different. Oh, yeah, black and white. Look at you, Jackie, pointing
so
that
funny.
out. Right.
Very
Well,
good.
like I said, we have a guest speaker today. And we always like to, change it up with our friends, Maury Ivy of Scruggs and Carmichael. A great friend who helps the Rabell Group and the Kristen and Rebecca team with title work, with closings, with just legal questions and real estate. So we've got him on today to talk about a couple things that have come up in his life, and then go over title commitments and closings, and maybe even some surveys if he can answer those for us. So we'll welcome Maury. Look at you up on the stage. See, we can't tell that you got rained on and that you're rushing over. Yeah, all dried up, right? Yeah, our backdrop, might need to start, just always being sunny. So everyone thinks we're on the beach. We're all, during the summer.
The backdrop?
Yeah. It is Gainesville.
It's kind of a nighttime look of Gainesville.
Yeah,
pretty cool,
good.
huh? Yeah.
It's glamorous.
I know. So, Maury, you had a big day yesterday for Father's Day?
Yeah, well, I have a new little one at the house, so it was a good Father's Day. Actually, my summer's now going to be very busy because my birthday is in June. My daughter's is in June, one of them. The other one's in July, and Father's Day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go.
It is busy.
June and July.
Expecting lots of gifts in this month from here on out.
Your wife's going to have to pre-plan for the summer every time. Well, congratulations.
Some birthdays are great, though, because you're 6 months from Christmas.
Yep, perfect.
So,
Right
very
in the middle.
nice.
Nothing to compete with.
Right.
With my occasion.
Yep, you always get the good gifts both times. So,
Yeah.
Right on. Well, like I said, congratulations. Happy Father's Day yesterday.
Thank you,
Hopefully you
guys.
spent it with your family and had a good time.
Did, yep.
Yeah. Now we're back to work.
Back to work.
Back to work.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about yourself so everybody can hear. They don't know you so much.
Well, I was born and raised in Gainesville. Been here most of my life. I've lived in Colorado, done some good traveling, so I've been around a little bit, but mostly here. Went back to law school about 4 years ago. So, well, I guess about 8 years ago. I've been a lawyer for 4 years. And here I am. Now I got 2 daughters, got married to someone I met in law school. So
2 lawyers?
2 lawyers, yeah.
Yep, there you go. And you're working at Scruggs and Carmichael. So let's see. We know the answer, but how'd you get into law? Or why'd you pick law?
Well, my dad's a lawyer who I work with now. So, of course, I've always known about that. But for a long time, I wasn't interested in it. And then I studied Spanish for my undergrad. And after a while, I realized I got to make more money. So I thought about a few things, and then as I got older, I was like, I think I'd like to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So it all kind of came full circle.
So you speak Spanish fully. I heard you say hello to Elio.
Yeah,
when
pretty good.
In. Yeah,
pretty good.
All right, good. So could you do a deal in Spanish if anybody needed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I did a closing the other day.
See, that's something I didn't know. So that's excellent to know because there's a lot of Spanish buyers that are here in Gainesville and Alachua County, and sometimes they feel a little more comfortable when they have the title agent, the closing attorney speaking to them in Spanish. So one more Spanish speaker in town to help with your real estate purchase.
I've always liked Spanish, and for me, there's nothing more fun than having Hispanic buyers or sellers.
Right. You can talk with them and talk about the culture and the language and the food. Wonderful.
Exactly.
Great. Well, that's cool. Oh, we've got here's something about Maury. We've got a fun...
I also run a side business. That's right.
Yep. Tell us about your obsession with these snakes. Is it all reptiles or mostly snakes?
Mostly snakes, just the poisonous kind.
Was this the venomous kind? You mean
the venomous kind? Yeah.
Wait, this is for real? Because they sent this to me, and I was like, "What? What is this? I don't know about this."
No, that's
snakes are like the one thing in. Well, yes.
Do you have snakes?
No, okay. I don't know what this is. Actually, I was just kind of going along with it. Who sent that? Sindel?
Kai. But don't
Kai.
You don't love snakes? There's nothing that's about
Oh, I don't know where he would.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Legend.
He totally is. He's a legend.
Oh my goodness. I hate snakes. I love gardening, and I know that's how I kind of got to know you. Was you were in your dad's office, which is where I always have closings, is at Scruggs and Carmichael, over near Fresh Market, and you brought fresh plants into their office, which I thought was so great and desperately needed. So
I'm the in-house gardener. It's just hard to get a budget out of those old
men. Yeah, I hear you.
Just what I'm willing to sort of put my own money in. But
you're like, I grew these in my garden, so I'll bring them in for you.
You just clip them, and you have more of them now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think if any of you all at Scruggs and Carmichael are watching, that it makes a huge difference that you have live plants in the rooms.
Yeah. And
So
I'm very anti-fake plant.
Yeah, me too.
I just do not like those fake dust catchers.
You got to clean them off. They don't look good. I hear you. That's great.
Well, let's talk about
what you
title.
do.
Okay, so as everybody knows, we're in charge of closing the deals that the realtors bring us. And, that, I guess, primarily is, as everybody also knows, real estate titles are more complex than like a car title or transacting another item, which is just switch the item for the money. You actually got to search the title and make sure it's clear so you can give clear title to the buyer.
So what are you searching for people who don't really know what this means? What are you searching for when you're clearing the title?
The first thing we're looking for is the owner. And
make sure it's the correct owner.
Exactly. Right. We have had cases where the seller is not actually the owner. They thought they were, but it turns out they weren't. So we have to make sure we establish the owner. And then second, we want to make sure there are no liens or judgments or anything like that. Of course, there's almost always a mortgage.
Which is a lien.
Which is a lien.
But that's an okay lien to have.
Yeah. Well, as long as we pay it off.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so.
What are some liens that get in the way of title to make it a little more difficult to close?
Well, I got one right now with a credit union that's kind of an obscure credit union that's in South Florida. And the only reason this is more difficult is because we have to get a payoff statement from them. And it's just delaying it because we're having trouble getting that from them. So we have the seller has admitted that they're the person against whom the lien is, and we're just trying to get the payoff statement. So
that's just taking a little more time than usual because they are obscure. Not a big bank, small credit union. They don't have enough staff or maybe the right kind of staff to send that in.
Yeah, all working from home.
Okay.
Man.
There you go. All working from home.
You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some that are interesting to work with that have like IRS or tax liens.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of going for.
And
right.
then, and I think, no, this would have been y'all, and it was a couple years ago. So I don't know if it was you or I primarily deal with Gail on a lot of it. But they were trying to track down the exact total at that day, if we closed on time, what it was going to be, because he was accruing interest and all these other things that were going against it, because the IRS lien itself was several years old. So they were putting interest on there. So there was all kinds of negotiating that y'all did for the people on their behalf.
The seller?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You all were hired by
and the IRS liens are, I wouldn't say common, but yeah, they're definitely out there. The good part about those is the IRS has a department, so you can find them. But the bad part is it can be hard to nail down the exact amount because their penalties and interest are high numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're ordering a regular bank payoff statement, you just add a few days after closing, and you might over collect and it'll get refunded. But with the IRS, that could be thousands of dollars.
I know.
That people don't have.
So, right. So then they can't close.
Oh, man.
So they need to bring money to the table.
That's
Have you experienced that?
Yeah, no one likes that.
Nope, nobody likes that.
Not the seller, anyway.
Right. Luckily, we don't see it quite as often anymore. But you know, when short sales started coming on, we saw it a lot in the very beginning, and even after. But what are some stories you have on clearing title or trying to? I always find there's issues with like surveys or you're out in the country because Alachua County is kind of surrounded by country land. Then you find out that the house was built on an old road, but now the road, which is kind of like an easement.
I'm thinking of one in particular where the house was built and the road used to be like right where the porch was.
Yeah.
And this is in La Crosse.
Exactly one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, it's stuff like that, clearing them.
Like how did that house ever get built on there, or so close that when they extended the porch, it was on a road. You've got to
just changed.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it is. But what happens if when you purchase the house, the title commitment says one thing, and then when you go to sell it, or maybe the next buyer's buying it, something else comes up because not all titles were the same. They're looking, they become stricter. Some title companies are stricter. So what are some examples that you've had that you could tell stories of? Because we could tell a ton.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point you make, Kristen, because all title companies are different, which surprises some people. But they're the company that takes the risk, so they have their risk assessments and what risk they're willing to take. So sometimes we shop around to see who will insure something.
Right.
Though most of the time they're kind of on the same page. But survey issues are my favorite because that's what really makes you feel like a real estate lawyer. You get to look at the surveys, you get to look at the documents. Sometimes you even have to drive out there because if you don't...
Even as a attorney?
I've done it because if you're looking at the documents and you're looking at the survey, you just never get a clear picture because it's really all about the land. And it makes a lot more sense when you see the land.
Right.
So obviously you don't have time to drive out to every property you're transacting or everyone that has a problem even, but I have done that just to sort of fit everything together. But survey issues, the reason I like those the best is because it's historical, just like you guys were saying. You got to go back into history, and whenever I work with the surveyors, I realize they're really kind of historians. They're really good at measurements. They're really good at scouring the public records, and they just understand how the land came to be the way it was. And they sort of put that whole picture together. I love the surveyors. I really do. Sometimes I wish historians. Yep, sometimes I wish I was a real estate lawyer / surveyor because those exist. Now I'm too old to be going back to school, but
sure.
That's a cool little niche.
It's a nice part of it, that you like.
Yeah, so really, any problem where you got to get out there and look at really old documents and do a survey map and then figure out what happened after that and then put the whole story together. Then you got to take it to the title company because a lot of times they'll produce the commitment, but they don't, so they know there's an issue. They know they're not insuring this. So usually they just say, we require a survey.
Okay.
What that means is I get together with a surveyor and the two of us slowly put together the story. Then we take it back to the title insurance company and say, hey, this is the story. This is what we propose. Will you insure this? And that's can be different every time.
Sure.
But that's probably my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
Well, let's take a break now, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about surveys, when they're required, why they're required, when to order them, things like that.
Cool.
Take a few minutes break. Thank you. Our philosophy to help our realtors grow their brands is to let them be themselves. We're not a corporation. We don't want to make it stuffy for them. We want them to grow with their best capabilities.
The resources at Rabell include things such as daily, weekly, and monthly trainings and classes available to our agents. Everything is there for them, ready to go.
I feel like I've grown exponentially professionally due to the training that I've received here and the opportunity to move forward at my own pace.
Since working here at Rabell, I think I've grown professionally. I've learned a lot from our leaderships, and I think I've learned a lot more from my customers, and it's taught me, what to do and how to treat people and how to be a better agent.
All right. Hello. We welcome you back here at the podcast with Maury Ivy, our guest speaker today. He's a title attorney from Scruggs & Carmichael, and we are in the thick of surveys and why you need them and when you need them. So you kind of said something, you'll get the commitment back and you'll find out that they want the survey, and then you reach out to the surveyor. It's not really, as a realtor, I'm like, well, that's not really true. Hopefully, as a realtor, we are ordering the survey in advance, because you need to provide this to clear the title, right? Get the full picture of the history. And then maybe the mortgage, the lender needs what's called a Title I-9 or a Title IX, and that's on that survey.
Yep.
So if you want to just get more into your story and kind of go through those parts of it and what, about the survey and why it's needed for this title commitment and for closing.
Yeah, typically I never order a survey.
Right.
So in a typical transaction, that's absolutely right. And the way it works is a survey is a tool for a buyer. So at any time a buyer can get a survey, and in many cases it's a good idea. But most people really ask the question of, when do I need a survey? Because it's an extra cost, it takes extra time, and they really don't want to get anything they don't need. So the answer, when do you need a survey, is typically when there's a loan. And that's because the lenders require a certain title insurance endorsement that requires a survey.
Right.
I'd say about 9 out of 10 of them do. So that's when you need a survey. Now, if you're a cash buyer, there's really times when you should have a survey. And the general rule I go by is, if there's a plat, so the property description is lot 9 in such and such subdivision, you're pretty safe.
Right.
Because at some point a surveyor went out there with a developer, they drew out a plat, they marked everything really well, they built it out really well. So it's kind of what you see is what you get. And there's probably not.
You know where the four corners are. It's probably a small lot, acre or less. You know where everything is. Yeah.
Now, the very prudent buyer would still get one, and 1 out of 40 might uncover something and save themselves some money. So it is always an extra tool. Surveys can reveal issues. So it's always a great tool. When I always tell buyers to get a survey is if it's out in the country, meets and bounds, because those legal descriptions are long. They have a lot of mathematical measurements, and there's a lot of easements out in the country. You want to know if there's an easement across your property. So if you're a cash buyer and one is not required, that's typically the rule that I would go by.
When you need it, and your loan is not requiring it, but it's a meets and bounds out in the country, get one.
Right, exactly.
Highly suggested.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting when we were on break, and I'm going to bring it up because I want you to mention it. But you were talking about, we were discussing one that you unraveled for an agent at Rabell so that she could get it closed, the other part of the property closed. And it was, you said something like, the more people that are involved, the easier it is?
No,
harder.
The longer it is.
The longer it is.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with all these people agreeing or not agreeing.
Their memories of the story, the agreeing.
Their recollection of history has changed.
Yeah, it's a people problem, really. Whenever we get required probate or required title fix or anything, the first question is, who are we dealing with people-wise? Because the longer that list is, the more people that have an interest or a role, the more people that have to be notified. It's like we got a small task. We don't really want a big team because only one of those can mess it up. So that particular one, it was just quickly, someone owned a big piece of property, sold off the back piece, but didn't retain the necessary easement to have legal access. Right. So when they went to sell off that piece, no access. So we had to go to the old neighbors and say, hey, we need to cross your property to get to this piece behind you.
And not everybody likes that.
Not everybody likes it. And you kind of go at them. There's a statute that says there can't be landlocked property.
Right.
So when you go to someone like that, you know you're going to get that easement. You'd prefer to just get them to sign it to you today.
You don't want to take them as statute and say, well, you're going to have to. You want them to agree first.
Yeah. But behind that, you're saying, so we'd like you to do that, but if you don't, a judge will tell you eventually. So, but then they do what they should do, and they go get a lawyer, and it takes months. And
because that's another person involved.
Yeah, and that was just one party with the lawyer, going round and round, and it just took time.
But in the long run, they had to give it up anyways.
Yep. Honestly, getting the lawyer's a good thing because the lawyer will tell them, this is a case of you go the easy way or you go the hard way, but either way, it's going. So he had me write the easement, he reviewed it, and they signed it.
Perfect.
The only reason it took a long time there is this happened to be a title insurance claim for the neighbors. So their title insurance company hired their lawyer. And the lawyer was non-responsive.
Right.
Took a month every time. So, and I attributed it to that. I feel like if the neighbor had hired him, he could have leaned on him and said, "Hey, we need to resolve this." But
there wasn't that middleman. It was like two larger companies who were not involved that much.
What I appreciated was that you stuck through it and you got it done, and then the other buyer got to close and was very happy. So
the people problem was not you. It was someone else.
Well, everybody kept doubting that transaction.
Yes,
they called
they did.
And I was like, look, I got this thing like a bulldog. I'm not letting it go.
We will get it done.
We're going to make this happen. So that one was really just a lot of harassing emails to the lawyer and, well, first to the neighbor, then I didn't harass the neighbor, but, diplomatically.
Sure.
Then I found out he had a lawyer. Then I had to harass the lawyer just to
Then you harassed the
do
lawyer.
his job. Yeah, I can harass them.
I like it.
Speaking the same language, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What are the most common questions that buyers have when they come in? Like they're sitting at the closing. Buying real estate is kind of a whirlwind, especially in today's market. But they come in and they're finally sitting in front of you, and you hand out this document, and they're like, they just look like a deer in headlights, usually, to me. Not always. There are people who've done it before, and they're like, whatever.
The first-timers, you could say, or who haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you guys, all of us in real estate know how many years it takes to start to wrap your head around the whole thing. So you can imagine first-time home buyers, I mean, they're clueless. And it's hard to catch them up, though. I try to, I don't know if they have like one specific question. I'd say the first document we usually go over is the settlement statement because it has all the numbers. Escrow accounts. If I can tell they don't know what escrow accounts are, I pause there because that word just
it could be people. 2 or 3 different things, right?
Yeah. And the numbers can be big. So I'm like, let me pause there. Everything else is sort of loan charges. And then title insurance. They don't understand what it is, what it's for, what my role is. And
they're confused. They're like, why can't I have the keys? Or I feel like it either goes this way. Can I read every document that you're about to hand me? Or can I just hurry up and sign it because I've got movers in the parking lot waiting to go?
Yep.
I don't really ever feel like there's an in-between.
Yeah, and going back to people, you just kind of got to read them and try to figure out where they're at and do the closing like you think they want it done.
So what is a short answer of what is title insurance?
Well, I think the best way is to not think of it as insurance and to think of it as a guarantee because there's a few parts that make it an insurance product. It will protect you against things that are unknown, just like regular insurance. We don't know if a hurricane comes and destroys our homes. But most of it is essentially the title company and us doing a really good job to make sure there are no problems, and then issuing a guarantee that says we stand behind our work.
Okay.
So we've done everything, and if we haven't, we'll pay for it.
There you go.
That's 90% of it. And in other countries that don't have the title insurance industry, there's a judicial component that does it. The court does it, basically. But you got to pay court fees to them. It's the same process.
Sure.
Titles are complex. Someone's got to clear it, and then someone's got to stand behind that work if it goes wrong.
Okay.
So
we're
it's
just
sort of
doing it ahead of time, the guarantee.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, yours is basically, so you were talking about the surveyors are basically like historians, right? I mean, title work in a way is that as well, because you're going back doing the house, only on the older ones, obviously. But if you think about it, I always think it's interesting to find the ones that have either changed hands a lot, and I'm like, why are they selling this every 2 or 3 years, you know, from the 60s till today, or the people that have like owned it since the
forever.
30s, and they just sold it. I think the coolest house I saw was up near the stadium, and it had a bunker, and it was from the 30s, and you had to climb down this little ladder, and they were like the original or second original owners, and I'm like, I just wanted to be like, why? It also had the original stove, which was
Well, then you go back to the history of all the homes
Yeah.
and the
it's
land and
awesome,
everything.
yeah.
It's beautiful. We have a question, and we're actually out of time. So unfortunately, these go by really fast, but we always have a lot to talk about with real estate. Is there anything first-time home buyers can do to be more educated going into closing on a home? Well, that could be answered by a lender, a realtor, a title agent. So I'll let you answer it your way.
Yeah, they could certainly ask us, you know, just say, hey, can you sort of give me the big picture here so I feel like I understand better? And this is a funny answer, but what I do is I just start Googling things and reading articles and just start educating myself. It's sort of that desire to know that'll carry you through. But yeah, pick up the phone and ask one of us, one of the professionals.
hire your Rabell Realtor.
I was just going to say it.
Because they
number one
have
answer.
a team of people like Mari and Kevin and Robert and Andrew and all these people that are here to assist you and make sure you have the correct answers.
Yeah, there you go. Ask questions. I wouldn't say Google all the time, but definitely ask questions.
Trust but verify, because I've heard
Trust
some
but
interesting
verify.
You're
Right.
You're right.
Call up your realtor at Rabell, and we'll help you
That's
out
right.
with all the answers.
Although
We'll
I'm
get them from
totally
the other
guilty of that.
professionals. I know we all are.
That must be a
but
generational thing, because we
trust
all
but
like,
verify.
immediately Google, and then I have to Google what I found because I have to make sure that that is correct. So
I also forget when you're Googling in an area you kind of know, you can separate the BS from the truth.
that's true.
But you're right. If you're in a very brand new area, you don't know what to read. So
Like when
Yeah,
I'm self-diagnosing on the medical side, I'm like,
You have everything.
I know.
Yeah.
You have everything. It's really just
I'm
common
like, oh
cold.
crap, I didn't even know I had this.
Don't listen to your family members, though, because they're the ones who just pull you down into the weeds of real estate. Yeah, call a professional. We're all here for
Yes,
you.
we're here
All
for
right.
you.
Well, Maury, thank you so much for coming on today and talking
Darn,
a little
I
bit
had
about
so many
title insurance.
questions.
I know.
that was quick.
Yeah,
Wow.
I told you. It's too quick. So we'll have you on again. We'll talk
Okay.
about some more. Great subject, though. So thank you for joining us today.
All
and
right.
hopefully, if you have any other questions for Maury, let us know.
Yes.
Rebecca, you want to take this?
Sure.
All
If
right.
you have a property that you don't want to sell, but you're not wanting to deal with the tenants, you can hire K&R Property Management. We would be happy to assist you with that. We will handle the tenant placement, the rent collection, the inspections, all those things that you don't want to take care of.
Right on. And if you wanted to get into real estate or maybe change your real estate career, change over to another company, move into our town, join our team. Join us at joinbuysellerbell.com. We'll answer your questions. We'll pull you in, talk to you, tell you what you're getting with us and how to create your real estate career.
Can't get enough of Rabell Realty Group, Kristen and Rebecca, or all of our awesome friends in real estate. Come find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the places. And
Don't forget,
like and
subscribe on our YouTube page. You'll get to watch us again and watch Maury again here talk about title and survey.
That's right.
Did you know we have a blog? We always ask that question, but we want to make sure you know to go on there on www.buysellerbell.com/blog. And you can find out all of these topics that we're talking about, answers, questions. You can ask us more answers or questions on there. We'll answer you. But great topics about all the aspects of real estate, which is really pretty much anything if you think about it.
And do you want to have your own podcast? You must first come onto our podcast. Then you may contact the Fiesta. Yeah, I love it. Then you can talk to the Fiesta Media. Phone number 352-327-5089. And you'll see how much fun it is to have a podcast.
We also want to thank the Fiesta Media for making this happen. We never would have done this. 30 minutes seemed like a million years. Every week seemed like too much, but it's been awesome and incredible. And it's so much fun to have our friends and our, in our industry on here talking about their experiences with real estate, how they can help us to be better realtors, and how we can all help you find your dream home. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Dance it out.
I know.